So good to see you guys. Feel free to come a little closer. We're intimate tonight. Shabbat Shalom. And Shabbat Shalom for those who are watching us on tonight's live stream. I am Chazan Sharon Brown-Levy, cantor of Congregation Call on Me here in Salt Lake City. And we are so glad that you are joining us tonight. We know that Passover is keeping everyone very busy. So we want to wish you not only Shabbat Shalom, but Chag Pesach Sameach. And in order to greet the Shabbat tonight, because as we know, Shabbat joins us each week, so we must honor this beautiful and holy occasion, singing words that tell us how grateful we are just to be together. Hine matov uma naim. How good and how pleasant it is that we could be together. And you can find those words in Hebrew, phonetics, and transliteration on page 128. 128 in your Siddur. If you know the words, join in whether you're out there in live stream or here. Hine matavu manai shevdaki miyacha. Hine matavu manai shevdaki miyacha. Hine matav, hine matav. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine matov manaim. Ya la 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 la. Hine matov manaim. Shedakim nam yacha. Hine matov manaim. Shevdachim yamiyacha, hine matavu manayim. Shevdachim yamiyacha. And so our Shabbat service continues with what we call Kabbalat, which are words of welcome. And one of the ways we welcome Shabbat is with this beautiful imagery of angels, these messengers in this heavenly pantheon greeting us to help bring in this most sacred time, the completion of the week of creation. And so we're going to turn now to page 142, and we're going to sing a piece called Shalom Aleichem, which means peace be unto you, Malachei Hasharet, you ministering angels. So I hope that you'll enjoy this beautiful rendition, which comes from South America. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Eya, Melech Malachi Hamlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Eya, Melech Malachi Hamlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Eloah, Imelech, Malachi Amlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Eloah, Imelech, Malachi Amlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Eloah, Malachi Hamlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Eloah, Melech, Malachi Hamlachi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom, to all who have come in. Let's take a few moments now to stand, take a stretch, and have everyone greet each other and wish each other Shabbat Shalom. Please do so. Once again, we say, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. At the conclusion of the Kabbalat Shabbat section of the service, we have another beautiful metaphor. The image of the Shabbat, not only as a sacred time, as if the Shabbat were a bride, and that every single weekend when the Sabbath enters, it is considered so special, so exciting. It is as if a bride entered the room, and the Jewish people become one with Shabbat. It is a beautiful image. It actually was inspiring a poem by a wonderful, wonderful liturgist and poet of Tzfat, or Safed, Israel, in the 16th century. He was a great Kabbalist, not only a welcomer of Shabbat, but also a student of Kabbalah, of Jewish mysticism. His name was Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz. And the first 8 verses of this acrostic poem, which you will see on page 138, which is called Lecha Dodi, actually include the letters of Alkabetz's name, because these authors liked a way to make sure that we remembered who authored them, right? So we're on page 138 with the beautiful Lecha Dodi, which I love, inspired by my Moroccan-Canadian colleague. Just a fantastic piece. This Lecha Dodi originated in northern Morocco and has become famous all over the world. 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Verse 1. Shamor v'zachor v'diburecha Yishmiyanu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat techu v'nilcha ki mikol haveracha mirosh b'kedem nesucha sof ma'aseh v'machashava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekav. Verse 5. Idareri kiva orech kuvi ori uri shir daveri kivod Adonai alayim v'nika hey Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekav. We rise as one community. Let us all stand and metaphorically greet the Shabbat bride in verse 9, facing the door. Ba'i v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uvetzala toch emunei am segula boi chala Lecha Dodi kala b'nei Shabbat lekavela lecha dodi ligarat kala b'nei Shabbat lekavela. You may be seated. So you may be thinking, why are there no Shabbat candles sitting here? And the reason is that when Passover coincides on Shabbat, the light of the Passover candles is supposed to carry through. We are not permitted to light another fire once the Passover festival lights have been lit. So we're going to be thinking about the Shabbat candles tonight, but they have to be lit from a pre-existing flame, which is not lit when no one is in the building, if that makes any sense, right? So normally we would say a candle blessing, but we're going to go past that, and sadly, since we do not have our quorum that we need for all of the prayers, we are going to be going past some of the typical prayers which are responsive that we would do in a Shabbat or other service. So for example, Kaddish, which is definitely a responsive prayer, is not recited, and Barchu, the call to worship, is also a responsive prayer. So we're going to go past those, and we are going to continue on page 148. 148. So the Jewish people are so grateful not only for the ability to have this day of rest, that we are also grateful for the smallest thing like the onset of evening. So what I would like to do is read together the more traditional translation for our newcomers today, and welcome, whether you're out there or here in our space, welcome to our community. This Mishkan Tefillah book has two different kinds of translations. On the right side of each two-page spread is a more literal or verbatim translation of the Hebrew you see. And on the left side, we have a more modern and metaphoric translation of the Hebrew prayer. So let's read together, because I love when we get to read together. Page 148 at the bottom. Here we go. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. And then you'll see at the bottom of each of these pages a phrase that begins with the words Baruch Atah Adonai, which is blessed are you, our God. And for each page, there's a different thing to bless. That ending is called a chatima, which means the closure or the end of the prayer. And each chatima has the same melody, but different words that conclude. So on 148 we sing, Baruch Atah Adonai Hamari Aravi. And then we continue on page 150 with a beautiful piece that discusses the eternal love that God offers the people Israel. And so we thank God first for the evening, and then we always remember God's abounding love for us. Ahavat Olam, 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amehavta, Torah mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Atan limadetam. Alkein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shogbeinu u'b'kuneinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nitzmach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha. גם בלילה. ויאהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. Together. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 152, we close our eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. On page 154, we chant together the words of Deuteronomy. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. And the Chatima at the bottom. Adonai Elohechem Emet. And so we conclude the words of Deuteronomy with words regarding truth. We must accept that all of this is true and certain for us in order to accept the joy of freedom from slavery. And so while this is specifically the joyful season of our freedom, every single day of a Jewish person's life, if you were to pray your daily prayers, you are remembering your liberation from Egypt. Every day, it is that significant a piece. And so as we affirm God's truth, I'd love for us to read page 156 at the bottom as a community as we prepare for the song that celebrates our freedom. Page 156, together, please. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. And on 158, we have this very excerpt from Exodus 15, which we're going to be doing also in an actual service itself, the Song of the Sea, right? We did it during Shabbat Shirah, which occurs around the time of the end of January, beginning of February each year. But then it's taken again. The scroll is rolled out of the usual cycle of readings and is read at Passover on the last days of the Holy Day. coming up next week. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow we get another section, but Mi Chamocha is actually done towards the end of the Holy Day, which is next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Mark your calendars. We need to make our quorum. Come on out. 158, join me. Yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la la. Mi chamocha ba'ili Madonna, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osifele, nora tehilot osifele. Malechutecha ra'u b'necha, v'ki hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu v'yameru, ze Elianu v'yameru, Adonai himelo le'olam le'olam va'ed, Adonai himelo le'olam le'olam va'ed. Even if you don't know Hebrew, you can sing lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, ya lai la lai la, yai lai ya la lai, yai la lai la, yai lai 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 la. V'nema kifadana et Yaakov, v'gialo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Gad Yisrael. Just a little point of note. There is a wonderful study of ancient certain melodies that are associated with time and season, and the prayer Mi Chamocha is considered the one that most associates with each and every holiday that we have as Jews. So while I just sang a very popular contemporary rendition by Debbie Friedman, if we were in a more traditional type of setting, you might hear something like this. Mi chamocha ba'eli Madonna, because there is a song from the Passover Seder called God of Might. And that melody for Ad Yehu is used for the Mi Chamocha at Passover. So I kind of wanted to give you that because it's an important little liturgical note for the season. We're going to move on to page 160 now, as we're remembering the theme of God's protection. It is an absolutely beautiful theme, and I hope that those who know this beautiful melody, written by Brodsky and Zweiback, incorporates both the Hebrew and some of the English. Not verbatim, but pretty close. Page 160, I hope you'll join me. Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamideinu shomreinu. Craig Talman, sorry. Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Ashmor Zeiteinu Uvoeinu L'chaim u'shalom Me'ata v'yad olam. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom L'shalom v'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha, uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, oh Adonai. Keep us from harm. all things. Adonai, keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us God wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'ha'amideinu shomreinu b'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, haporetz sukat shalom aleinu. Haporetz sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, the guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. And now we turn to yet another section from our Torah, from our holy scrolls, the beautiful Vishamru that tells us it is our responsibility to guard. While God's responsibility is to guard us, ours is to guard and keep the Shabbat. Page 162. I'm going to do a meditative version, beautiful one from South Africa. Page 162. V'yishamiru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day. I invite you to rise as we go on to the second segment of our service, the Tefillah, also called the Amidah, page 164. Adonai siftai tivtach ufi yagid tihilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya-la-la-la-la, 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 ya-la-la-la-la. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'il Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגין, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגין אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 168, who remain standing. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. Page 170. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Let's read at the top of 171 together. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. We remain standing in silence. We're going to continue quietly with our own private prayers, ones that you could choose on the following pages, one at a time, through the prayer for peace at the bottom of page 180, in any language you choose, or if you wish, you may close the book and pray Tefillah Shebalev, the prayer of your own heart. When you're finished your prayers, you may be seated. page 179. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. We shall never again know war. Lo yisagol el goy cheren ve'lo yilmedu ad milchama. Lo yisagol el goy cheren lo yilmedu ad milchama. Lo yisagol el goy cheren lo yilmedu ad milchama. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. Together we will walk in the path of Hashem. Lo yisagol el goy cheren ve'lo yilmedu ad milchama. Amen. We say amen. And so, this is now the time in our service that we are remembering those who are in need of healing. Those who are in need of healing of body and also of spirit. When we mention healing, we hear these words, mishaberach. It's one of the most famous settings when we think of healing, but the actual words being, may the one who blesses. That's actually what mishaberach translates. And we wish for God's blessing in a variety of occasions, but especially want the berach, the blessing, when something is troubling us or when people are in need of healing. So first I'm going to read the list of those we're thinking of this week, and then I will bring my hand in your direction. And if there's someone you're thinking of not mentioned here, of course, please mention it, whether you're here in our space or you're out there watching us on the stream. This week in our community, we're thinking of for blessing and for healing. Gitaleah bat Mashachana, David ben Saraleah, Harav Yehuda Leb ben Dina, Miriam bat Chesed, Miron Yisrael ben Rachel, Daniel Meir ben Chaya Etia, Basha bat Shirley, Baruch ben Sarah, David Dowsett, Yitzchak Vigilski, Tanner Light, Megan Megalby, Rachel Mitchell, Shari Pedersen, Pete Schwager, Josh Shapiro, Penny Spector, Adina Stern, and Judy Wolf. Is there anyone you may be thinking of also at this time? Anna and Moshe ben Yusha. And so you may have, hopefully with your books today, I'm hoping, a white booklet that has some of our activities and happenings. But at the back of this book, I've made sure that we include some additional prayers for healing. So I'd like us to look at the back page, number 15. It's called Heal Us Now. And the words are transliterated, and of course there's also English. When you catch on, I hope you'll sing with me, at least in the theme of El Na. Rifa'im Adonai v'nirafeh Hoshienu v'nivasheya El karov lechol kara ach karov tireach isho. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. El Naifana הושיע את עמך, וברך את נחלתך, ורעים ונעשה אימת העולם. ישברך אבותינו, ישברך אימותינו, Adonai Hoshiana. We pray the healing of our people. We pray for healing of land and peace for every race and nation, every child, every woman, every man. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf, Refuat Shelema. Sing with me, Elna. Elna Refana. Oh, please heal us now. רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, רפואה שלמה. Heal us now, heal us now, heal us now, Rifana, heal us now. Amen. It is my great privilege to bring up our beloved Faye Lincoln for the Devar this evening. Faye, who is on our board of trustees, is the head of our adult education and an author. We are so very blessed to have you give our Devar. Thank you so much, Faye.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Come listen down here.
Well, today is the second day of Passover still, and the Devar was Parshat Pesach 2 today, and that's what I'd like to focus on, if that's okay with everybody. In our Torah portion, Moses is directed by Adonai to inform the Israelite people to set aside times to honor Adonai, including sacred occasions, and specifically the Passover, with its Passover offerings and a feast of unleavened bread. The remembrance of the Israelites' slavery and their newfound freedom lives on with Passover as the people are given the tools, rituals, and celebrations needed as they eventually enter the land of Israel. As both an author, thank you, on societal values and ancient Israelite history, together with my background in public policy, I was particularly fascinated with today's Haftorah reading of Josiah in 2 Kings and its connection to Passover. Josiah, one of the rare kings who reigned over the land of Judah, second only to Hezekiah, honored Adonai and his ways throughout his life. Following the time of Solomon, the northern and the southern kingdoms experienced declines under various rulers for over 350 years. A century before Josiah became king, the Assyrians had conquered and enslaved the people of the northern kingdom to be lost forever. Yet by the time the Babylonians conquered the southern kingdom of Judah, the Israelites would survive as a people, eventually returning to Jerusalem. Why did they survive, but the Israelites of the northern kingdom did not? By the time of Josiah's reign in 621 BCE, the people had forgotten Adonai's commandments and laws, as well as the memories of the Passover offering. Josiah reverses this decline by bringing great reforms to the land of Judah. He eliminates all forms of idolatrous worship, and together with the priests, teaches the people the religious law. He then directs them to honor the Passover, to bring back the memory of living in bondage, and to appreciate their freedoms And this is the section that we read about today. The people would remember these teachings when 35 years later, only 35 years later, they were conquered by the Babylonians and sent into exile. Now, how did Josiah accomplish this feat? Under former rulers, the people of Jerusalem had learned to worship false idols and gods, and so social reform was necessary. But in order to bring this about, Josiah first had to integrate the demands of the Mosaic law and the faith with the political governance structures of his time. The king would convince the people of the necessity for reform so they would willingly participate. Josiah set about repairing the first temple as it had been desecrated under the prior kings. He coordinated this effort with the high priest Hilkiah. The people with the necessary skills worked together to help repair the temple, and Josiah paid them out of the silver collected and stored in the temple's treasury. During the reconstruction process, the high priest Hilkiah, along with the scribe Shaphan, brought to Josiah's attention the discovery of a unique new scroll of the teaching of Moses, which today is Deuteronomy. The scroll emphasized the threat that if the people of Judah did not follow the ways of Adonai, they would be conquered by a foreign power and exiled. Josiah was in fear of Adonai and intent that this prediction should not come to fruition. Through Josiah's charismatic leadership, along with Hilkiah, they called together all the elders and the people to read the scroll to them. And so for the first time, they would come to hear the words of Adonai with their own ears and learn the teaching of Moses. The people were in awe of this discovery. They were willing to change their way and cease the worship of their many false gods. Then the king removed all forms of idolatry from the temple, as well as from throughout Samaria and the southern kingdom. The last step in the process, following this cleansing, was to reestablish the Passover offering that the people had forgotten. The section we read today indicates that the Passover offerings had been forgotten for many generations. This appears to be the first instance during the period of Kings that the Israelites begin to learn the religious law for themselves, allowing them to carry it forward into exile in the very near future. And the Passover would be a sacred remembrance for them, a reminder of their original Egyptian enslavement under Pharaoh and how they were freed. The social and religious reforms in the hearts and minds of the people came about not only because of Josiah's belief in Adonai, along with his effective and creative leadership, but also with the discovery of this new scroll of the teaching of Moses. Was this actually a newly discovered scroll? Or was it an older scroll hidden in the depths of the temple from the time of King Solomon, as some historians believe? The author of 5 major publications on Jewish history and culture, Max Dumont, in his book Jews, God, and History, discusses the finding of this new scroll that compelled the people to change their form of worship. According to Dumont, biblical scholars have conjectured that the earliest scrolls of the teaching of Moses, transcribed by the Judean scribes, were known as the J documents. J stands for the unpronounceable name of Adonai, also referred to as the 4-letter tetragrammaton. The Hebrew reference for Lord, Adonai, replaced the sacred 4 letters. About 100 years later, according to the scholars, it was believed that the northern Israelite kingdom came forward with their own set of scrolls, referred to as the E-scrolls, referring to Adonai as Elohim. Eventually, it was thought that these scrolls were brought together into a combined document called the JE scroll. Today, Deuteronomy brings together both Lord, your God, Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu originating from Elohim, as a possible combination of the 2 earlier versions of the scrolls. We only occasionally see this in combination in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, as well as in Genesis. Did the priest Hilkiah actually find an earlier version of the new scroll? Or, as thought by Dumont, did Hilkiah, with the assistance of the scribe Shaphan, establish a newly combined version to motivate the people to reestablish their relationship with Adonai, centered through the tradition of Passover as a memory of their past? Regardless, the newly discovered scroll allowed Josiah to establish new reforms which ensured the survival of the Jews when they eventually were conquered by the Babylonians. It takes unique leadership, both through Moses and Josiah, to bring about religious and social reforms, as well as to memorialize the sacred remembrance of our Jewish history. By celebrating Passover, Moses as a leader reminds us of our past as a people who moved out of slavery and forward into freedom, eventually entering the new land of Israel. Josiah, by recommemorating the Passover, reminds the people of the consequences of not honoring their past, but also provides them with a new way forward. The Israelites will eventually carry the memories of these teachings into exile as they inevitably lose their freedom and live once again as strangers in a foreign land. Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom.
Continue with strength. Thank you so very much. It's a privilege. Well, you know, I could have had you stay up here. We want to come up and do some announcements? Is that okay? Do you want me to go ahead? All right, thank you. It's fine. I didn't think about that, but they're right after this, and I think this is still on, so.
Okay.
But I want to thank you for this, because I think it actually had me listed for the Devar, so
Oh,
make sure
okay.
that we acknowledge your faith.
Well, I'm not going to thank myself, so, but thank you. Chag Pesach Sameach. Thank you to Cantor Brown Levy for leading us, and again for the Devar this evening. You should have received your invitation for the 50th anniversary gala with an early bird pricing. Please RSVP before the deadline for that early bird pricing of April 14th. You can also add your greeting or an advertisement to the Tribute Journal by April 10th. We'd also like to display any memorabilia of your experiences at Kolami. Please send them in or drop them off by April 21st. For more information on how to order tickets, sponsor a table, add a greeting, or submit your memorabilia, please check your announcements, our website, or contact Galit in the office. Our Passover Lunch and Learn for seniors age 65 and over is next Tuesday, April 11th. Please RSVP. For our April Schmooze event, we will be attending a special off-site event at Pioneer Theater Company, this is very exciting, to see the 2019 Pulitzer Prize for Drama nominee for Best Play, What the Constitution Means to Me. And I hear this is excellent, by the way. It's directed by Kolami member Karen Eisenberg, and check your announcements for more details. Other upcoming events include our Shir Shabbat service and dinner at the shul on Friday, April 21st, a Kolami Outdoor Spring Ski Day on Sunday, April 23rd, the Rosh Chodesh Group's Iranian Women Movement, Woman, Life, and Freedom with Lily Alavi, which is open to the community on Tuesday, April 25th, Anti-Semitism and Hate Crimes, a conversation with Salt Lake City Police Chief Brown on Wednesday, April 26th, and a special interfaith music event with Cantor Brown Levy at Christ United Methodist Church on April 30th at 7 p.m. This will be an interfaith event. Summer will be here before you know it. We still have camp scholarships available for Jewish sleepaway camps. We're offering $750 per week for first-time campers and $500 per week for second-year campers. We will also be introducing Camp Kolami for children going into grades 1 through 7 the week of June 26th through the 30th. Each day will have adventures, activities, and crafts that not only explore Judaism, but help build and strengthen bonds within our Jewish community. More information to come. Our congregational trip to Israel is just months away. We still have a few open spots. View the full itinerary and registration info on our website. Once again, thank you for our volunteers, donors, members, and guests for your participation and support and listening to all these messages as well. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. So thank you.
Toda Rava. Thank you so much. Oh, that's all good. The announcements, as you could see, we have a lot of things going on. And in addition to all of this, imagine all of the services that we've been having in our mornings as well as tonight. Shabbat tomorrow morning and Sunday, it's Minyan, but it's kind of like an extended morning Minyan service, and that will be in the Pepper Chapel. And that is including special prayers because we are in the intermediate days of Pesach. So there's some beautiful, beautiful liturgy. Please tell your friends, please come on out and support us. We're trying to get people physically into this space, and it's been a little bit challenging, especially at festival seasons. So I wanted to give that shout out to you guys. All right, well, our service is coming to the concluding section, and so I would like to ask you please to rise, if you're comfortable doing so, on page 586 as we prepare for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latit gedula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu ki goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu ki mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahan, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu koreim u'mishtachavim numanim lifnei melech melechei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. You may be seated. Page 591. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shema echad. So being that we do not have our quorum of 10 of Jews of the age of 13 or older, but we are still so grateful to have your presence, I am still going to read the list of shloshim and yartzites, as that is by Jewish law, by halacha, it is permissible to do so. And in lieu of Kaddish today, we will say one specific sentence that helps remember those without saying the responsive piece. So God willing, in the coming days, we'll definitely have enough to be able to do these very important responsive parts of our service. So first I'm going to go ahead and read the weekly list. And as for Mishaberach, I will then bring my hand in your direction as well. For the 30 days of the anniversary of their passing, the Shloshim, as we say, we are remembering Joel Shilkrat, wife of former member Sherry Shilkrat, Richard Josiah Tillery, son of Rachel Benater and Randy Tillery, Birdie Grace Benater, mother of Rachel Benater, and those whose Yahrzeichen occur at this season, the annual anniversaries of their passing. David Anisman, Michael Asman, Bruce Becker, Sarah E. Bronsky, Shirley Bruce, Robert Cohen, Francis Dolowitz, Robert Chipman Dowsett, Franny Einhorn, Phyllis Lerner Farrell, Eugene Feldman, Jack Feindling, Doris Neidich Gus, James Skip Jeffers Sr., Jason Edgar Leroy Jensen, Freda Castle, Burton Katz, Isidore Klein, Bruce Cronenberg, Edward Levy, Sylvia Loeb, Marilyn Maidbry, Jeannie R. Marks, Pauline Milkoff, Rose Miller, Lorraine Pepper, Sherman Pomerantz, Sam Sapitsky, Gary Shapiro, Sam Scheiken, Irving Schulman, Tilly Silverstein, Emmanuel Sonnenreich, and Irving Spitz. As I bring my hand in your direction, if there's someone you're remembering today, feel free to rise so we may comfort you as a community. May the memory of all of our righteous be a blessing, as we say in Hebrew, Zichronam Litzadikim Livracha, the one piece that we say when people are remembering, or a period of remembrance, or even in immediate mourning, we say this phrase. You can repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet, Dayan ha'emet, which means, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, the eternal judge of truth. For only God determines the meaning of life and death in this world. And without that truth, there is nothing. That is the existence of everything. May we always be comforted by the legacies of those we are remembering, either here in our space or out there in live stream, or for those who are not here with us today. We're thinking of you in our hearts. And so, we're coming to a closing, the last song of the evening before we head out to greet Shabbat on the outside. And I would love to reintroduce to you a kind of more traditional closing Shabbat song, and it's on page 628, and it's called Yigdal. Yigdal is one of my very favorites. The Christian communities actually have adapted the melody to Yigdal in many of their hymns. It's become a universalized melody written by Meir Leoni, an Italian Jewish composer. And then the concepts, I know Faye will appreciate this in education, the concepts that we learn about in the Yigdal liturgical poem were none other than the principles of faith created by Moses Maimonides, rewritten in this beautiful closing hymn. So if you heard of the great scholar who wrote the Guide to the Perplexed and was a Renaissance man in Spain, who was primarily located in Toledo, Spain, at the time of the Golden Age, when Jews and Arabs and Christians lived together in harmony in Spain, this is where Yigdal was inspired. And so page 628, I think I'm going to do the first two paragraphs and then head to the last paragraph. Yigal Elohimcha וישתבח ימצא ויראה אל מציאותו אחד בן יחיד כייחודו נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות תקוף ואינו גוף לא נערוך אליו ירושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון באין ראשית לראשיתו. Last verse. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אדוני עד שם תהילתו. The original verse, taken out from here, מתים יחיה ברוב חסדו, ברוך אדוני עד שם תהילתו. I'm going to ask you to rise as we welcome Shabbat with Kiddush and Hamotzi, and then we will wish each other Shabbat Shalom. The Kiddush you can find, this means sanctification, is page 123, or easy to remember, page 123, pretty easy to find. And one of the things I love most about the Kiddush every single week is it not only reminds us of the beauty and joy of creation, but also reminds us of the Exodus. Listen for the words, Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, a remembrance of the leaving, of being taken out of Egypt. Every Shabbat we are reminded of this freedom. 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho v'yava v'ratzon inchilanu zikaron למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כיוון בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim. To life. And now you can remain standing. Now, normally on Shabbat we have a really beautiful braided bread, right? Not this week. For the Shabbat in Passover, we have the humble, the bread of affliction, the bread that our ancestors ate. We're still remembering on the sweetest of days of the week that, yes, we were once slaves and we were rushing out of Egypt. And so they brought me my gluten-free version. I can actually take some this week. All right, so we're going to make a regular motzi as if we were doing it over the challah. We sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. B'te'avon and Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shabbat. This concludes our service. Please partake of matzah if you'd like to try some. It's a really cool cracker. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Please try some. They sell this year-round, but we eat it especially this week. It is actually really tasty. It's got like a potato flour in it, you know? And by the way, a fun recipe, if you've not ever had this, and if you ever hear anthropology, it's a shame we didn't get to meet our emeritus Cantor. He was the professor at the U of anthropology. Did you know Cantorlope's full-time work was full-time professor as an anthropology, senior professor at the U, and he was part-time at Colony, but we'll call it three-quarter time at Colony for many years. Isn't that crazy?